If you are watching this right now, something has already changed inside you. And I do not mean that as a vague spiritual platitude. I mean it as a precise energetic fact. Something that used to hold you together, some invisible architecture that kept your days predictable and your sense of self intact, has quietly dissolved. You may not have the language for it yet. You may not even fully recognize what happened. But your being knows. Your body knows. The fact that you are here, listening to these words at this exact moment in your life, is not coincidence. It is confirmation. You are not breaking down. You are not losing your mind. You are not falling behind. You are in the 3%, and your reality is already shifting. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Because this is not about being special in the way the ego craves specialness. This is not about being chosen or elite or better than anyone else walking this earth. This is about a very specific energetic threshold that most human beings never cross. Not because they cannot, but because they will not. They will not because crossing it requires something that the mind finds absolutely terrifying. It requires letting go of who you were, not improving who you were, not healing who you were, not repackaging who you were with better habits and a morning routine. Letting go entirely, releasing the entire construct, allowing the whole architecture of your former self to come undone like a sandcastle returning to the shore. And you, whether you chose it consciously or whether life chose it for you, have already begun that process. The dissolution is underway, and there is no going back. Here is what no one tells you about transformation. Real transformation, not the kind you read about in books or see in before and after photos, but the kind that rewrites the very fabric of your experienced reality. No one tells you that it feels like dying. No one tells you that the space between who you were and who you are becoming is not filled with light and clarity and angelic music. It is filled with fog. It is filled with silence. It is filled with a disorientation so profound that you begin to question whether you ever knew anything at all. And that questioning, that radical unknowing, is not the problem. It is the point. It is the entire point. Think about what you have been experiencing lately, and I want you to be honest with yourself here. Not the version of honest where you perform self-awareness for an imaginary audience, but the kind of honest, Moshe, that happens at 3 in the morning when no one is watching, and the mask has slipped, and you are left with nothing but the raw truth of what you feel. Have you noticed that the things that used to excite you no longer carry the same charge? That goals you once pursued with fire and hunger now feel strangely hollow, like reaching for fruit that looks ripe on the outside but has nothing inside? Have you felt a growing distance between yourself and people you once felt deeply connected to, not because of conflict or betrayal, but because something in you has shifted and the frequency no longer matches? Have you caught yourself staring at your own reflection and feeling, even for a brief disorienting moment, like you are looking at someone you used to know? Someone familiar but no longer quite you. If any of this resonates, breathe into it. Do not rush past it. Do not try to explain it away or diagnose it or fix it. Just let the recognition land. Because what you are experiencing is not random. It is not a midlife crisis. It is not depression, although it can wear depression's clothes. It is not anxiety, although it can borrow anxiety's voice. What you are experiencing is the felt sensation of an identity dissolving at the quantum level. And that sentence is not a metaphor. Let me explain exactly what I mean. In quantum physics, There is a principle so strange, so counterintuitive, that even the physicists who discovered it struggled to accept its implications. It is called the observer effect. At the subatomic level, particles do not exist in fixed states. An electron, for example, does not sit in one location like a tiny marble waiting to be found. Before it is observed, it exists as what physicists call a wave function, a cloud of probability, a field of potential spread across multiple possible positions simultaneously. It is everywhere and nowhere. It is all possibilities at once, and then something remarkable happens. The moment a conscious observer looks at it, the moment attention is directed toward it, the wave function collapses. The infinite possibilities reduce to a single actuality. The electron appears in one definite place, not because it was always there, but because the act of observation itself called it into being. Now pause with that for a moment. Really let that settle into your understanding. Reality at its most fundamental level does not exist in a fixed state until consciousness interacts with it. The universe does not decide what is real until something is there to witness it. Observation is not passive. Observation is creative. The act of looking is the act of making. Now here is where this becomes personal. Here is where this stops being a physics lesson and starts becoming the most important truth you will ever encounter about your own life. Your identity works the same way. Who you believe yourself to be is not a fixed thing. It is not a solid structure made of permanent material. It is a wave function. It is a field of infinite potential selves that gets collapsed into one specific experience of selfhood through the act of repeated observation. Every day of your life, you have been observing yourself into existence. Every morning you woke up and without even realizing it, you performed an act of quantum measurement on your own being. You looked at yourself through the lens of your memories, your beliefs, your wounds, your habits, your stories, and you collapsed the infinite wave of what you could be into the same familiar particle of who you always were. The same personality, the same reactions, the same limitations, the same self, over and over and over, day after day after day, not because that was the truth of you, but because that was the habit of your observation. Your parents observed you into a certain shape when you were young. Their expectations, their fears, their projections became the first lens through which your wave function was collapsed. Then culture added its lens, then school, then relationships, then career. Then your own internalized voice took over the job, and you began collapsing yourself with such efficiency, such unconscious precision, that the particle of your identity felt absolutely solid. It felt like stone. It felt like the most real thing in the world. And you built your entire life on top of it. But it was never stone. It was light. It was a pattern of focused attention held in place by the sheer force of repetitive observation, like a hologram that only appears solid because the laser never wavers. And what has happened to you, what is happening to you right now, is that the laser has wavered. The observation has shifted. The repetitive pattern of collapsing yourself into the same identity has been interrupted, and the wave function of your being has begun to return to its natural state. Not collapsed, not fixed, not defined. Open, unresolved, infinite. This is what I call the quantum identity collapse, and it is simultaneously the most terrifying and the most liberating event that can occur in a human life. If this is landing for you, if you can feel the truth of this in your body right now, take a moment and hit that like button and subscribe to this channel so these transmissions can continue to find the people who need them. Let me describe what this looks like from the inside because I want you to recognize yourself in this description. I want you to see that what you have been going through is not chaos. It is precision. It is a process with a structure, even though it feels like freefall. The first thing that happens is that the old story stops working. And by story, I do not mean a narrative you consciously tell. I mean the deep, unconscious script that has been running your life since before you had language. The story that says, I am this kind of person. I always react this way. I am good at these things and bad at those things. I deserve this much love and no more. I am limited in these specific ways. That story, which felt as real and as permanent as gravity, begins to lose its hold. It does not happen all at once. It happens in flickers. Moments where you catch yourself about to react in the old familiar way, and something in you hesitates. Moments where you look at your life, the job, the relationship, the city, the routine, and instead of the usual sense of this is just how things are, you feel a strange transparency to it all, as if you can suddenly see through the walls of your own life and sense the vast open space behind them. This is disorienting, profoundly disorienting, because your mind has been trained to navigate by the landmarks of your identity. Your sense of self was the map, and now the map is dissolving. You are standing in a landscape with no markers, no compass, no North Star. The mind panics. It reaches for the old reference points. It tries to reconstruct the story. It says you are having a crisis. It says something is wrong with you. It says you need to get back on track, find your purpose, set new goals, fix this. But every attempt to rebuild the old structure feels hollow. Every effort to recollapse yourself into the familiar pattern meets a strange internal resistance, as if something deeper than your mind, something wiser than your thoughts, is refusing to let you go backward. And this is the second phase. The resistance of the deeper self against the mind's desperate attempt to reconstruct the old identity. This feels like an internal war. Part of you wants to go back to normal. Part of you knows, with a certainty that has no logical basis, that normal no longer exists for you, that the door you walked through has closed behind you, and the room you left is no longer there. This creates a very specific kind of suffering. Not the suffering of something going wrong, but the suffering of something going profoundly, irreversibly right in a way that your current understanding cannot yet accommodate. The exhaustion you have been feeling. Let me speak to that directly, because I know it has been unlike any tiredness you have experienced before. This is not the exhaustion of working too hard or sleeping too little. This is a bone-deep, cellular-level fatigue that no amount of rest seems to touch. And the reason is simple, though the mind will resist the simplicity of it. You have been expending enormous amounts of energy trying to hold together a structure that is in the process of dissolving. Imagine trying to keep a sandcastle intact while the tide is coming in. Imagine the effort required to rebuild each wall as fast as the water takes it down. That is what your system has been doing. Trying to maintain coherence in an identity that has already begun its return to the formless. The exhaustion is not a sign of weakness. It is the energetic cost of resistance. And the moment you stop resisting, the moment you allow the dissolution to complete itself, you will discover a reservoir of energy you did not know you possessed, because the energy that was being used to maintain the old pattern will be freed, and that energy is immense. I want to pause here and ask you something. What was the moment for you? When did you first feel the old identity start to crack? Was it sudden, or was it a slow unraveling you only recognized in hindsight? Share that moment in the comments, because your story might be the exact confirmation someone else needs to hear right now. The confusion is similar. Your mind is a pattern recognition system. It is designed to take the raw data of experience and organize it into coherent categories based on your existing model of reality. But your existing model of reality is the very thing that is dissolving. So the mind keeps trying to sort new experiences into old categories and finding that nothing fits. It is like trying to run new software on an operating system that is in the middle of being replaced. The programs glitch, the screen freezes, error messages appear everywhere, and the mind interprets this as something is broken. But nothing is broken. The system is upgrading, and during the upgrade, the old programs are supposed to stop working. That is not a malfunction. That is the process working exactly as it should. Here is where it gets interesting. Here is where we move from understanding what happened to understanding why it matters on a scale far larger than your individual life. There is a concept in physics called phase transition. It describes the moment when a substance changes from one state to another. Water turning to ice, ice turning to water, water turning to steam. What is fascinating about phase transitions is that they do not happen gradually. They happen at critical thresholds. You can cool water slowly and steadily, and it remains liquid, remains liquid, remains liquid, and then at exactly 0 degrees, everything changes at once. The entire structure reorganizes. The molecules that were flowing freely suddenly lock into a crystalline pattern. Or in the case of heating, the molecules that were locked in structure suddenly break free into a completely new state of being. The substance does not become a better version of what it was. It becomes something categorically different. This is what is happening to you. And this is what is happening to a very small percentage of human beings on this planet right now. You have reached a critical threshold. The energetic temperature of your consciousness has risen to the point where the old state, the old structure of identity, can no longer be maintained, and you are undergoing a phase transition. Not an improvement, not an upgrade in the conventional sense, a fundamental change in state. You are not becoming a better version of your old self. You're becoming a different order of being entirely. And this is why the old tools stopped working. This is why affirmations feel hollow. This is why setting goals feels pointless. This is why even therapy, which may have served you beautifully in the past, now feels like it is addressing a person who no longer exists. Because those tools were designed for the old state. They were designed to optimize water. But you are becoming steam. You cannot optimize water when the water is turning to steam. You have to learn an entirely new physics. And here is the part that will either terrify you or set you free, depending on how willing you are to release your grip on the old paradigm. The 3% is not a number I chose for dramatic effect. Research in consciousness, in behavioral psychology, in the science of human change, consistently shows that the vast majority of people, roughly 97%, will live their entire lives within the identity they inherited. They will modify it. They will improve it. They will decorate it and renovate it, and sometimes even do significant repair work on it. But they will never leave the building. They will never experience what it means to have the entire structure dissolve and find themselves standing in the open air of unconditioned awareness. Not because they are incapable, but because the phase transition requires something that the human system is profoundly resistant to. It requires a complete surrender of the known. It requires a standing in the gap between who you were and who you have not yet become, and being willing to not fill that gap with anything, to just be there, in the emptiness, in the not knowing, in the free fall. Most people, the moment they feel the first tremors of dissolution, the moment the old identity begins to flicker, will grab onto something, anything, a new belief system, a new relationship, a new goal, a new distraction, anything to recollapse the wave function, anything to feel solid again, and the universe allows it. Free will is always honored, but the phase transition is aborted. The water cools back down, the old structure reforms, and the opportunity passes. You did not do that, or rather, you are not doing that. You are here. You are listening. You are standing in the dissolution, and instead of running, you are turning toward it. You are asking, what is this? You are asking, what is happening to me? And that willingness, that raw courage to stay present in the unknown, is what separates the 3% from the rest of humanity. It is not intelligence. It is not spiritual achievement. It is not worthiness. It is willingness. The willingness to let go of who you were without yet knowing who you will become. So let us talk about what you are becoming. Let us talk about what exists on the other side of this dissolution. Because the void you are standing in is not empty. It only appears empty to the mind that is still, looking for the old furniture. The mind says, I had a couch here. I had a table here. I had a sense of purpose here. Where did everything go? And because it cannot find the familiar objects, it concludes that the room is empty. But the room is not empty. The room is full. It is full of something the mind has never been trained to perceive. It is full of potential. Pure, uncollapsed, infinite potential. This is what physicists call the zero-point field. It is the ground state of reality itself, the lowest possible energy state. And paradoxically, it is not empty. It is seething with energy. It is vibrating with possibility. At the quantum level, even in a perfect vacuum, even when you remove every particle and every wave of radiation, there is still energy, there is still activity, there is still an inexhaustible creative force humming beneath the surface of what appears to be nothing. And this is where you are standing right now, in what feels like nothing, in what feels like emptiness and loss and confusion. But what is actually the most creatively potent space in the entire universe. Let that land for a moment. The emptiness you have been afraid of is not the absence of life. It is the presence of infinite life before it has chosen a form. You are not in a void. You are in the womb of reality itself, and everything, literally everything, is possible from here. But here is the thing. And this is where most people, even within the 3%, stumble. You cannot create from this space using the old tools. You cannot think your way into your next identity. You cannot plan your way there. You cannot strategize or optimize or hustle your way into what comes next. Because all of those approaches belong to the old paradigm. They all assume that you are a fixed self trying to acquire or achieve something external. They all operate on the assumption that reality is solid and you must push against it to shape it. But you have just discovered, through direct experience, that you are not a fixed self, and reality is not solid. You are a field of consciousness, and reality is a field of probability. And the relationship between these two fields is not mechanical. It is not about force or effort or willpower. It is about resonance. If you are feeling the depth of this, if you sense that what we have touched on here about the observer effect, phase transitions, and conscious resonance is only the surface of something far vaster. I have mapped the complete system across 9 master frequencies in my book, Beyond the Frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery, where each dense transmission takes you from unconscious broadcasting all the way through to living as the field itself. It is linked in the pinned comment below. Let me explain what I mean by resonance, because this is the key that unlocks everything that comes next. When you strike a tuning fork, it vibrates at a specific frequency. If you place another tuning fork of the same frequency nearby, it will begin to vibrate as well, even though nothing physically touched it. The first fork did not push the second fork. It did not convince the second fork. It did not work hard to make the second fork respond. It simply vibrated at its natural frequency, and reality organized itself in response. The second fork had no choice but to resonate. This is how consciousness interacts with the field of probability. This is how you create reality from the 0 point. You do not push. You do not force. You do not struggle. You tune. You find the frequency of the reality you wish to inhabit, and you hold it. Not in your mind, not as a thought, or a visualization, or an affirmation. In your body, in your nervous system, in the felt sense of your being. You become the tuning fork, and reality resonates. This is why the old identity had to collapse. Because the old identity was a tuning fork stuck at a frequency that no longer matched what your soul came here to create. You were vibrating at the frequency of your wounds, your conditioning, your inherited limitations, and reality was faithfully organizing itself around that signal. Not because reality was punishing you, not because you were doing something wrong, but because reality's is a mirror. It reflects whatever frequency is being broadcast. Change the broadcast. Change the reflection. It really is that simple and that difficult. Because changing the broadcast does not mean thinking different thoughts. It means becoming a different instrument. And that is exactly what the dissolution has been preparing you for. The old instrument is being dismantled, not repaired, not retuned. Dismantled, so that a new instrument can be built from the ground up, one that is capable of holding frequencies the old one could never sustain, one that is designed not by your parents or your culture or your trauma, but by the deepest truth of what you are. So how do you do this? How do you build the new instrument? How do you begin to create from the 0 point when everything you knew about creating has been stripped away? The first thing you do is nothing, and I mean that literally. The first and most important practice in this new paradigm is the practice of conscious stillness. Not meditation as a self-improvement tool, not mindfulness as a way to reduce stress. Stillness as a way of being. Stillness as your natural state. Stillness as the recognition that you do not need to do anything to be whole. That you do not need to become anything to be complete. That the frantic activity of self-improvement was itself the problem, not the solution. when you sit in stillness, when you allow yourself to simply be without agenda, without goal, without the need to fix or change or improve anything, something remarkable happens. The noise of the old identity quiets. The static of conditioned thought begins to clear. And underneath it, like a signal that was always broadcasting but was drowned out by interference, you begin to hear something. A tone, a frequency, a vibration that is unmistakably yours. Not the you that was constructed, not the you that was conditioned. The you that exists before all construction, before all conditioning, before all stories and all identities. The you that is pure consciousness itself, choosing to have a human experience. This tone, this frequency, is your true signal. And it does not come from your mind. It does not come from your thoughts or your beliefs or your memories. It comes from a place that has no location, a depth that has no bottom, a silence that contains all sound. And when you find it, when you tune into it, when you allow your entire being to align with it, something extraordinary begins to happen in your external reality. Synchronicities increase. Not the small ones, not just seeing repeated numbers on a clock, although those may happen too. I mean the large structural synchronicities, the ones where the right person appears at the exact right moment, where an opportunity materializes that you could not have planned or predicted, where the external world begins to rearrange itself with a precision and an intelligence that your conscious mind could never have orchestrated. This is not magic. This is physics. This is what happens when a coherent signal is broadcast into a responsive field. Reality reorganizes around the frequency. The tuning fork vibrates, and the universe hums along. Tell me in the comments, have you already started noticing this? The synchronicities, the strange timing, the things falling into place in ways your mind could never have arranged. I want to hear what is showing up for you, but here is the part that requires your deepest trust. The reorganization does not always look the way your mind expects. The mind has very specific ideas about what a good life looks like. It has images and timelines and benchmarks. It wants the new reality to look like an improved version of the old one. Better job, better relationship, better body, better circumstances. But the intelligence that is orchestrating your transformation is operating from a perspective so vast, so multidimensional, that your mind cannot comprehend it. It is like an ant trying to understand the blueprint of a cathedral. The ant can see the grain of sand it is standing on. It cannot see the flying buttresses, the rose window, the soaring nave. And if the ant tried to direct the construction based on its limited perspective, it would create something very small and very wrong. Your mind is the ant. Your consciousness, the deep awareness that initiated this entire dissolution, is the architect of the cathedral. And the cathedral it is building is your life. Not the small, safe, predictable life your mind would design, but the vast, luminous, breathtaking life that your soul came here to live. And the only way to allow that construction to proceed is to get the ant out of the way, to let the mind relax its grip on the blueprint, to trust a process that is too large to understand. This is the practice. This is the daily, moment-by-moment practice of living from the 0 point. You notice when the mind tries to recollapse the wave function. You notice when it reaches for the old identity, the old stories, the old limitations. You notice when it says, "I need to figure this out. I need a plan. I need to know what is going to happen." And instead of following that impulse, instead of letting the mind grab the steering wheel and drive you back into the familiar, you breathe. You pause. You return to stillness. You return to the tone. You return to the frequency of your unconditioned self. And you trust. Not blind trust. Not naive trust. Not the trust of someone who has never been hurt, but the earned trust of someone who has watched their entire identity dissolve and discovered that what remains, what has always been here beneath the construction, is indestructible, is luminous, is more real than anything the mind ever built. Let me speak now to something that many people in this process experience but rarely talk about because it sounds too strange, too unbelievable, too far outside the accepted framework of normal human experience. As the old identity dissolves and the new frequency begins to stabilize, you may notice that your relationship with time changes, not metaphorically, experientially. Moments begin to stretch. The present becomes thicker, more textured, more vivid. The past loses its gravitational pull. Memories that once defined you begin to feel like stories that happened to someone else. Not because you are dissociating, but because you are seeing clearly, perhaps for the first time, that those memories were never the truth of you. They were data points in an old program. They were pixels in an old image, and the image has been dissolved. You may also notice that your perception of other people shifts. You begin to see through the surface of their personalities to the consciousness beneath. You begin to nuance their frequency, their state, their level of coherence, not as a judgment but as a simple perception. The way you might perceive the temperature of a room. This is not a superpower. This is a natural capacity of consciousness that was always present, but was obscured by the noise of your own conditioned identity. When the noise clears, the perception clarifies. You see what was always there. And perhaps most remarkably, you may begin to notice that reality itself becomes more responsive, more fluid, more willing to shift in response to your internal state. This is the observer effect operating at the macro scale. As your consciousness becomes more coherent, as you learn to hold a clear, stable frequency without the interference of the old identity, the field of probability around you begins to organize with increased precision around that frequency. Things that used to take months begin to happen in days. Connections that would have required elaborate planning materialize spontaneously. Solutions to problems appear before the problems fully form. And the overall texture of your life begins to shift from one of effort and struggle to one of flow and synchronistic precision. This is not wishful thinking. This is the natural consequence of a coherent consciousness interacting with a responsive universe. And it is available to you right now, not in some distant future when you have completed your healing or achieved your goals or become a better person. Right now, in this moment, in this breath, because you are not becoming coherent. You are remembering that you always were. The coherence was always there. It was just buried under the static of the old identity. And now that the static is clearing, the signal is emerging. Your signal. The one that was always broadcasting. The one that reality has always been waiting to hear. So let me offer you something practical. Not a technique, not a method, not a 5-step process. Something deeper than that. Something that works not because you do it correctly, but because it aligns you with what is already true. Right now, wherever you are, whatever position your body is in, I want you to take a breath, a real breath, not the shallow automatic breathing that keeps the body alive, but the chamu, conscious, deliberate breath that reminds the body it is inhabited by awareness. Breathe in slowly. Feel the air enter your body. Feel your chest expand. Feel the subtle aliveness in every cell. And as you exhale, let something go. You do not need to name it. You do not need to know what it is. Just intend release. Let the exhale carry something out. Some tension, some story, some remnant of the old identity that is still clinging to your nervous system. Do it again. Breathe in presence. Breathe out the past. Feel the space that opens when the past is released. Feel the silence that exists in the gap between exhale and inhale. That gap, that tiny moment of stillness between breaths, that is the 0 point. That is the field of infinite potential. That is where you live now. Not in the inhale of taking in new information, not in the exhale of releasing old patterns, but in the gap, in the stillness, in the space between. Now, from that space, from that silence, I want you to ask yourself a question, not with your mind, with your being. The question is this: if I am not who I was, then what is possible now? Do not answer it. Do not let the mind rush in with its plans and its goals and its ideas about what should come next. Just hold the question. Let it vibrate in the stillness. Let it interact with the field. And notice what arises, not as a thought, as a feeling, as a frequency, as a subtle shift in the quality of your aliveness. Whatever arises, that is your next note. That is the first sound of the new instrument. It may be quiet. It may be barely perceptible. It may be nothing more than a slight warmth in your chest, or a subtle sense of expansion, or a barely detectable feeling of yes. That is enough. That is more than enough. Because that faint signal, held with consistency and trust, will grow. It will strengthen. It will clarify. And it will begin to call reality into new configurations around it. Not through effort, through resonance. This is how you create from the 0 point, not by knowing what you want and going after it, but by tuning into the frequency of your deepest truth and allowing what wants to emerge to emerge. You become the tuning fork. Reality becomes the orchestra, and the music that results is your life. Not the life your parents planned for you. Not the life your culture prescribed. Not the life your trauma predicted. The life that your consciousness, in its infinite creativity, chooses to compose in this moment, and the next moment, and the next. This is what it means to be in the 3%. It does not mean you have arrived somewhere. It does not mean you are finished or enlightened, or beyond the reach of pain and confusion. It means you have crossed a threshold from which there is no return. It means you have tasted the dissolution of the false self and survived. It means you know, not as a concept, but as a lived experience, that you are not the identity. You are the awareness in which identity arises. And from that knowing, everything changes. Not because you make it change, but because you can no longer pretend it does not need to. The world you see around you, the structures, the systems, the collective agreements about what is real and what is possible, these were all built by consciousness operating at a certain frequency. They are the crystallized expression of a particular level of awareness, and they are not wrong. They served their purpose. They were the best creation that consciousness at that frequency could produce. But you are no longer operating at that frequency. The phase transition has moved you into a new state. And from this new state, you will naturally, inevitably, begin to create structures and experiences and relationships that reflect your new frequency. Not because you are trying to change the world, but because you cannot help it. A tuning fork does not try to make other forks vibrate. It simply vibrates. And everything in its field responds. This, Dissolution, is the quiet revolution. This is the shift that is happening beneath the surface of the world right now in the 3% who have crossed the threshold. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It does not announce itself with banners and manifestos. It happens in the silence of a single human being sitting still and choosing to no longer collapse themselves into the old pattern. It happens in the gap between breaths. It happens in the moment of surrender when the mind finally stops trying to rebuild the sandcastle and allows the tide to do what tides do. And the tide is not your enemy. The tide is the intelligence of the universe itself, washing away what is no longer true so that what is eternally true can be revealed. You are not being destroyed. You are being uncovered. Layer by layer, story by story, identity by identity, the false is being stripped away, and what remains, what has always been here, what cannot be destroyed because it was never constructed, is the luminous, infinite, creative awareness that you are. Consider sharing this video with someone you know who is going through their own dissolution right now. Someone who feels lost or broken and does not yet understand why. When you share these frequencies with another awakening consciousness, you create a resonance between you that amplifies the signal for both of you, accelerating the phase transition and strengthening the coherence of your own field in the process. So if you are in the free fall right now, if you are in the fog, if you are in the space between identities where nothing makes sense and everything feels uncertain, I want you to hear this clearly. You are exactly where you need to be. The disorientation is not a detour. It is the path. The confusion is not an obstacle. It is the clearing. The emptiness is not a loss. It is the most profound gain of your entire existence. You have been given back the blank page. You have been handed the pen. And for the first time in your life, no one is telling you what to write. The old story is over. Not because it failed, because it was completed. You learned what you needed to learn from that identity. You extracted every lesson, every insight, every drop of growth that it had to offer. And now it has been retired, honored and retired, like a ship that carried you across a great ocean and has now reached the shore. You do not need to drag the ship onto the land and carry it on your back. You step off. You feel the solid ground of the new world beneath your feet. And you walk forward, lighter than you have ever been, freer than you thought possible, carrying nothing but the awareness that you are the one who chooses. You are the one who observes. You are the one who collapses infinite possibility into lived experience. And from this moment forward, you choose consciously. This is not the end of your story. This is the first page of a story that has no predetermined plot, no inherited limitations, no ceiling on what is possible. This is the story written by consciousness itself, through you, as you, for the sheer creative joy of seeing what emerges when a human being finally remembers what they are. You are not the blueprint. You were never the blueprint. You are the architect. You are the awareness in which all blueprints arise and dissolve. You are the space in which all identities are born and die. You are the silence beneath all sound, the stillness beneath all movement, the presence beneath all experience. And you are awake now, perhaps for the first time, perhaps after a long sleep that lasted years or decades or an entire lifetime up until this very moment. But you are awake, and the universe has been waiting for this. Reality has been holding its breath, waiting for you to stop collapsing yourself into the small, the familiar, the safe, waiting for you to finally stand in the open field of infinite potential and say yes. Yes to the unknown, yes to the unwritten, yes to the magnificent uncertainty of a life created in real time by a consciousness that has remembered its own power. You are in the 3%. Not because you are special, because you are willing. Willing to let go. Willing to not know. Willing to stand in the void and trust that the void is not empty but full. Full of everything you have ever wanted. Full of everything you have ever been. Full of everything you will ever become. All of it here. All of it now. All of it waiting for the gentle, conscious, loving command of your attention to call it into form. So breathe. Let the old identity rest in peace. It served you well. And now, from the silence, from the stillness, from the luminous emptiness of the 0 point, begin. Not with a plan, not with a goal, with a frequency, with a feeling, with the quiet, undeniable knowing that you are the creator, and creation is ready to begin. If this transmission found you at the right moment, if something in these words resonated with a truth you have been carrying but could not name, then honor that resonance. Let it be your compass. Come back to it when the mind tries to pull you back into the old pattern. Come back to it when the world tries to convince you that the dissolution was a mistake. Come back to this frequency, this knowing, this truth. You are not who you were, and that is the greatest gift you have ever received. Let it in. Let it settle. Let it become the foundation of everything that comes next. Not a foundation of stone, a foundation of light, a foundation of awareness, a foundation that cannot crack because it was never rigid, that cannot crumble because it was never built, that simply is, as you simply are, eternal and infinite, and here, right now, in this breath, in this moment, in this extraordinary, unprecedented, unrepeatable now. Welcome to the other side. Welcome to the beginning. Welcome home. Now that you understand the dissolution, you are ready to learn the specific activation that accelerates this entire process. Watch your quantum shift will activate when you do this, where you will discover the precise practice that locks your new frequency into place and begins reorganizing your external reality around it.